Hello, welcome to the Wire Podcast, a podcast that provides the best content about all things sports. I'm Ryan McCrary, and this is a very special episode of the podcast. I'm recording this on Sunday, and I wasn't planning to record a pod today. However, we got some huge news last night as it was reported that the Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers in return for Anthony Davis and some more things as well. This is a huge blockbuster trade, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about what all players are being traded in this deal, which teams are involved. We're going to talk about how this deal came to fruition, and I am going to give my thoughts on this. This is a wild episode. I did not expect a trade like this to be made, but we're here, and we're going to talk all about it. But I'm going to stop. We're not going to waste any more time. We're going to go ahead and dive into this very special episode of the podcast. All right, let's get this show started. And the first thing I want to talk about is how I found out that the Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic. So I woke up early Sunday morning, and I stayed up late on Saturday night. But I'm on the East Coast. I live in Georgia, and I didn't see the trade. I didn't see an announcement of the trade before I went to bed. So I wake up in the morning, and I look at my phone, and I see a notification from Bleacher Report, and it's a trade. And I read it, and it says that the Dallas Mavericks have traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers in return for Anthony Davis. And my initial reaction was that this was fake, that it wasn't a real trade, that somehow there was a false report, or maybe there was like a parody account that I was somehow getting notifications for, which doesn't really make sense because I don't have notifications for any kind of parody account on Twitter, and that obviously wouldn't show up on Bleacher Report. But it was just, I thought that the idea that the Mavs would trade Luka Doncic was so absurd that what I was seeing on my phone had to be fake. So I immediately go to Twitter. I see that it is official, and I start seeing details about the trade. And I get up, and I go to, I'm seriously considering waking up my stepdad to tell him about it, because I'm like, this is absolutely insane. Thankfully, he's walking out of his bedroom, and I go, dude, Luka just got traded. And I show him the notification, I show him the trade details, and we are both standing there just stunned. And that's how I found out that Luka got traded. And throughout the rest of the day, more details started coming out. And so we've got a lot to talk about here. But I just wanted to start off today's episode by talking about how I found out about the trade. And here are the full trade details. I want to outline all of the teams and the players that are involved here. So the Lakers in this trade are receiving Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris. So the Lakers are receiving Doncic, Kleber, and Morris. The Mavericks are receiving Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick from the Lakers. And the Jazz are also included in this deal. They are getting Jalen Hood-Schifino, a 2025 second-round pick from the Clippers, and a 2025 second-round pick from the Mavericks. And I read a report earlier today that the Jazz had to give $55,000 in cash to both the Mavericks and the Lakers. I'm not sure if that's true, but that is what I saw being reported. And so those are the trade details. And there have been a lot of details coming out since the trade was initially reported about how all of this went down. It sounds like maybe a month ago, or at least a couple of weeks ago, Nico Harrison, who is the GM of the Mavericks, started talking and having conversations with Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, about basketball-related things. I don't know if they were talking about trades initially, but eventually they started talking about potential trades, and it sounds like things progressed to the point of the Mavericks offering Luka to the Lakers. It's not like the Lakers came to the Mavs. No, it's being reported that the Mavs actually reached out to the Lakers specifically, seeing if they are interested in Luka Doncic, which, of course. Literally every team in the league would have been interested in Luka Doncic. And they were eventually able to come to this deal. And it sounds like the Mavericks, it seems like their perspective and the reason why they are interested in moving on from Luka Doncic is that they don't want to pay him the supermax. That's what it sounds like. And it seems like the reason why they aren't interested in giving him the supermax is because of his conditioning and his injury history. And I'm baffled by this. Does Nico Harrison not realize how rare it is for a team to find a player that is this good at this age? I mean, seriously, let's be real for a second about how good Luka Doncic is. Luka Doncic is one of the best young players in NBA history. He is one of the 10 to 12 best offensive players ever, and he's only 25 years old. He has a chance to be one of the better players ever. Maybe not a top 10 player, but he definitely has a chance to be a top 15 or a top 20 player of all time. And the Mavericks are okay with just giving him up? That is completely asinine. That is freaking insane. Nico Harrison is a fool, in my opinion, for even considering trading Luka Doncic. But here, let's just grant that this is logical. Let's just grant that it's true that Luka isn't worth the Supermax extension. Let's grant that it's true that Luka's conditioning is a huge issue. Maybe his lack of effort on defense will keep him from ever being a championship caliber player. Let's grant that all of that is true. Why didn't Nico Harrison announce that he was interested in trading Luka to start a bidding war? Because literally, every team in the NBA would have been interested in Luka, and they would have received an insane offer from every team. Take the Thunder, for example. I think the Thunder would have been interested in offering them a huge package of first-round picks combined with extremely talented young players. I don't think it is absurd to suggest that in exchange for Luka Doncic, the Mavericks could have gotten Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and let's say 5 first-round picks from the Thunder. That's a lot. I know that's a lot. But that is what you have to give up to get a guy like Luka, who is a top 5 player at the age of 25 and is already a historic player, an all-time great talent. I think that would have been on the table. And there's a strong possibility that the Mavericks could have gotten a return like that. They could have also reached out to the Spurs, or had the Spurs reach out to them with a big offer of draft picks and young players. Maybe the Rockets would have been interested in making a deal like that. I say maybe. They definitely would have, because they're not stupid like Nico Harrison. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be brutal on this podcast. We're not hitting the brakes at all regarding my thoughts about Nico Harrison, and we're going to dive deeper into him later on. But there are so many teams in the league who could have presented a much stronger offer than the one the Mavericks got. And I want to talk about what the Mavericks got, because I feel like Anthony Davis is being a bit, underrated in the discussions about this deal. Anthony Davis is a great player. He is probably a top 10 player right now. He is having a very good season at the moment. He's an excellent defender. has developed into a strong offensive player throughout his NBA career. He is a stud. He's a Hall of Famer, and right now he is playing extremely well. The issue is he's on a big contract. He's 31 years old, and he is very injury prone. And on top of that, the Mavericks didn't get enough draft capital. They only got one first-round pick, which is insane. Anthony Davis is a very good player, and he's the type of player who will keep the Mavericks competitive in the short term. But when you trade a player the caliber of Luka Doncic at his age, you should be able to get far more than Anthony Davis. You should be getting at least 5 first-round picks, considering what Mikal Bridges was able to get the Knicks in a trade, or what Rudy Gobert was able to get the Jazz in a trade a few years ago. Like, there's no scenario in which the Mavericks should not have gotten at least 5 first-round picks in any trade for Luka Doncic. So I think Nico Harrison went about this the wrong way. I think it was a colossal failure on his part to not at least announce that he was interested in moving on from Luka Doncic, to create a bidding war to get the best offer possible. It's being reported that he only called the Lakers, and that's why the Mavericks got the package that they received in this deal. And I think that is just, that it is baffling. Like, it is mind-numbingly stupid that he would do something like this. In my opinion, it's foolish that he would even consider trading Luka Doncic, considering that Luka is a historically good player, is already a winning player. Like, he has been spectacular in the playoffs, literally led the Mavericks to the NBA Finals a year ago, and this guy wants to trade him. It's stupid. Like, I think that's foolish, but I think everything is made even worse, considering that Nico just decided to not tell anybody that he was interested in trading Luka Doncic, leading to him getting screwed and robbed in this trade. And to make things even worse, after the fact, Nico starts kind of releasing information about how this trade went down, and it sounds like no one knew this was going down. Jason Kidd didn't know, the head coach of the Mavs. Luka Doncic wasn't made aware of this. And even for the Lakers, Anthony Davis and LeBron James were both not aware that this was happening. And what's funny, I want to kind of rewind things. When the Mavericks initially went to the Lakers, it is reported that the Lakers took 48 hours to meet internally to talk about whether or not they wanted to do this deal. So the Mavs had plenty of time to change their mind about trading Luka, and they went through with it. And I'm shocked the Lakers even needed 48 hours. I mean, if I'm the GM, I'm like, the same day I get this phone call with this trade offer, I'm talking to my owner, I'm talking to LeBron, and I'm talking to Anthony Davis, and letting them know this is going down. And we're not having internal discussions. We are making this trade while it's on the table. So I can't believe the Lakers even took time to discuss this internally. Like, I would, as the GM, I would have said, we're pulling the trigger here, and I'm just letting y'all know this is happening. But I would have let the players know as soon as I heard about this offer, or as soon as I had any inkling or any idea that a trade like this could have happened. I would have let all the players involved know. Like, if I'm Nico Harrison, I'm letting Luka know, hey, I'm thinking about trading you. Here's the deal that we've discussed. I want you to know before we pull the trigger. Because you have to do that. You can't treat your star player like this and not keep them in the loop when you're deep in trade discussions regarding a deal involving them. It's just poor player management. Very poor. And since all of this went down, Nico Harrison has released some crazy information, talking about how when he let the owner know what this deal looked like, he said that the owner laughed at him. Like, why? Like, why would you tell people that? Like, he said this at his press conference today on Sunday. He told the world that the owner laughed at him when he told the owner about this proposal. Nico Harrison might be the dumbest person on the planet. Like, I cannot believe he is trusted to run an NBA team. Like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely insane. And he had some other insane quotes talking about how he views the future as being 3 to 4 years down the line, because in 10 years, he and Jason Kidd, the head coach, are both going to be fired anyway, which, like, he's not even wrong about that, but to come out and say that is kind of crazy. Yeah, there's been so many just horrific quotes coming out from Nico Harrison. There are probably some that I'm forgetting, but the more he talks about this deal, the more it becomes clear that he doesn't know what he's doing. And I actually looked into his background today because I wanted to see how he became the Mavericks GM. And he actually has a very interesting career. He spent a long time at Nike working for that company, eventually worked his way up to being the VP of basketball operations before becoming the general manager for the Mavericks in 2021, which I thought that was a very interesting path, to going from being the VP of basketball operations at Nike to then being the GM of the Mavericks. I thought that was an interesting career move. I don't know if that's normal for a guy to go from being in that kind of role outside of the NBA to then being a GM. That seems abnormal, but I'm not sure. Who do I know? Or what do I know? And it seems like he may have gotten the GM job because he already had strong relationships with NBA players from his time at Nike. However, something I found out about Nico Harrison that I didn't know before is that he is the man who's responsible for Nike's botched presentation to Stephen Curry in 2013, which is wild. I had no clue about this until today, but I thought that was extremely interesting. That was just some wild information I learned. But yeah, so now Harrison is well known as the guy who botched Nike's presentation to Stephen Curry, and he's known for making the worst trade in NBA history, trading Luka Doncic. One thing, I wanted to look at a few hilarious tweets that I saw after this trade was announced. So let's look at a few trades. So, there were a lot. Like, I saw some hilarious tweets. I saw a video tweeted with Mavs fans outside of American Airlines Center, and one of the guys in this video says, "It feels like JFK just got shot." All-time quote. Just absolutely incredible. Let's see. Oh, somebody said they talking about the Mavericks were shopping their generational superstar like he was Dante DiVincenzo, which is crazy. I mean, the Mavericks literally the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic for pennies on the dollar for no reason. Like, oh, this is insane. This is absurd. But that tweet is absolutely correct. Like, that is absolutely insane. And somebody said, "Is there about to be a Diddy report on Luka? What's going on? Is this related to the tariffs? How did this happen?" Just incredible tweets here. Someone said Bill Simmons rushing to the studio as we speak. This would be the most listened to podcast of all time. Yeah, they are absolutely correct. I listened to that podcast with him, Ryan Russillo, and somebody else. I'm forgetting the other guy's name. And Ryan Russillo dropped a Wilt stat line on that pod. He was incredible. He was absolutely hilarious, dropping some bars on that pod. It was incredible. Okay, yeah. Here's one thing that I didn't mention earlier that I should have. So Luka Doncic did not request a trade. He also, according to Nico Harrison himself has not indicated that he would not want to sign a contract extension with the Mavericks. So it's very clear that Nico Harrison just simply doesn't like Luka Doncic for some reason. And I don't get it. Like, that makes no sense. Nico Harrison is an idiot. Like, he is so dumb. God, how is a guy like this allowed to run an NBA team? You know, I think a lot about what it would look like to be a GM for a sports team. And I think, it's way too hard. You've got to manage all of these different people who work under you. There's a lot that you have to do regarding player management, roster construction, talking to the media, managing the cap. It's a very difficult job, and I know I wouldn't be able to do that, even though I would be interested in a job like that. Like, that would be really cool. But my gosh, then I see people like Nico Harrison, and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do this. Like, if this idiot can be an NBA GM, I feel like I could as well. Because I can promise you, I would not be trading Luka Doncic. And if I did trade him, I would be getting a heck of a lot more than what the Mavericks got. Because that was a freaking travesty. That was awful. So someone posted a video of an old clip of Colin Cowherd where he says, "Hey, LeBron, we've got Ben Simmons. We're good." and they tweeted, "Hey, Luka, Spencer Dinwiddie is here. We're good." Which I thought was like a classic tweet. That was great. Someone asked, do we think the Spurs would have traded Stephon Castle for Luka? Which is hilarious because of all the conversations about Stephon Castle recently regarding De'Aaron Fox and his trade request. Because people are acting like Stephon Castle is this great asset, which is insane. He's legitimately a bad player right now. Like, legit a bad basketball player. And people are acting like he's the next great guard. I even saw Bobby Marks suggest that he could be the next SGA in 5 to 6 years. Listen, I will sell my car. I will live in a box under a bridge if Stephon Castle ever becomes even close to the caliber of player that SGA is now. That is insane, and he won't ever do it. I am in my hater era right now. Maximum hater right here. That's insane. Someone said, legitimately, unless Luka Doncic is a serial killer, I don't understand how this happens. And a lot of people were thinking this when the trade was announced. People thought there has to be more to the story. There has to be stuff that we don't know that's happening behind the surface. But the more we hear about the situation, the more it becomes clear that no, the Mavericks simply didn't want Luka, or at least Nico Harrison didn't. He just didn't want Luka as part of the franchise anymore. There wasn't anything serious going on behind the scenes. Yeah, Luka has conditioning issues, which we've known for a few years now. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be anything major happening behind the scenes. Luka didn't request a trade, he didn't demand a trade, and he also didn't indicate that he didn't want to be in Dallas and that he wouldn't sign a Supermax extension. Nico Harrison simply doesn't like Luka Doncic and doesn't want him on his team, which, like I've said many times in this episode, is insane. The dude is a psychopath and doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, like, this trade is absolutely insane. I'm trying to think, is there anything I'm missing? I don't think there is. I think that covers everything. I do want to talk about what this trade means for both of these teams involved, the Lakers and the Mavericks. That is important to talk about. And let's start off with the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks are still going to be a good team after this trade. You've got, Kyrie Irving is a great shot creator, a very good scorer, even late in his career. Anthony Davis is a good defender. When he's healthy, he is a dominant two-way player. And at his best, he is like an MVP caliber player. I don't know if you're going to get MVP caliber impact this late in his career, but you definitely are going to get a guy who is a devastatingly good defender with an unreal offensive skill for his size and this position. So I think the Mavericks will still be good and will still be relatively competitive, but I don't see them winning a championship. I think Anthony Davis's health is too big of a question mark. And I'm not sure if Kyrie Irving can carry an offense through an 82-game regular season plus a playoff run. So there are too many question marks for this team, in my opinion. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Mavericks here. Like, they're going to be competitive after this trade, but I just don't know what their ceiling looks like. And now that I talk about the Mavericks being competitive, it just makes me think about this trade. And it's like, the Mavericks seriously made a trade to be competitive and to win now. And they did that by trading their all-time great superstar franchise cornerstone, who was 25 years old, for pennies on the dollar. Like, that's wild. That's insane. And for the Lakers, this trade changes everything for this franchise. I think everyone was questioning what the future would look like for the Lakers post LeBron. You know, once LeBron retires, what does the Lakers' outlook look like? And there were major question marks about that. And now that's solved. I mean, they just got Luka Doncic before he even hits his prime, really. I mean, I guess he's in his prime now because he's been in his prime since his second season, but he's not at his peak yet. We're like 2 years away from that. And they were able to get him for Anthony Davis, a first-round pick, and Max Christie. And so now, once LeBron retires, or they decide to move on from him, we may see them trade LeBron at some point. But now, once LeBron is no longer a Laker, they're going to be okay for like a decade because they have Luka. And they're going to be able to be competitive for years to come. And that's crazy. As long as Rob Pelinka doesn't screw everything up and can build a roster around Luka that is good enough to contend, this team will be playing for championships for a long time, in my opinion. And it's just, it's unfathomable that the Lakers were able to do that. It's shocking. I don't know when the last time I was this stunned by anything sports related. I think the last time I was this stunned was when Kobe died. And that was an insane day. I wasn't even a big Kobe fan. But like seeing someone like him die in such a tragic way was insane. And this is kind of just as stunning. Like, it is shocking to me that a franchise would handicap itself like this. It's wild. It's unthinkable. It is a terrible decision, and I think it's going to blow up in the Maverick space, and I think in the next couple of years, Nico Harrison is going to get fired and will never have a GM job ever again. This is insane. I have seen people reporting that executives have been tweeting or have been texting insiders saying they didn't know that Luka was available, and if they did know, they would offer everything. I saw that at least one executive indicated that to an insider. But, man, this is wild. This is crazy. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this again. What a trade. What a move. Man, if you're a Lakers fan, I cannot imagine how you feel right now. And the same for Mavs fans, but in a totally different way. I can't imagine being a Mavs fan right now. I would be inconsolable. Like, I would be totally devastated. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Luka Doncic trade. This was an episode that was all over the place. I know. I didn't have notes for this. I wanted this to be off the cuff. I wanted this to be raw. Not a lot of editing. But man, I can't believe it. Luka Doncic has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers at the age of 25, in the middle of his prime. The Mavericks just decided to give up on him and they decided they didn't want him anymore. That's insane. And that's it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on any platform where you listen to your podcast, like Spotify or Apple Podcast, please leave a 5-star review. I would greatly appreciate that, and that would help me out a lot. Like I said, that's it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know I did, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.